Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of The Sense of Things with Ron and Jeff. We are here for another week, and we're coming up to the end of the year and coming up to our annual spectacular spectacle of what goes on, what our results were for the year as far as our estimates, and how the other parts of the market just changed everything. And they just keep adjusting their targets to make themselves look like they're really smart. But we're going to have a show before that, which is today. So Ron's going to talk to us a little bit about what is going on in the kind of history. He's going to talk a little bit about or give us an update on something he gave us a little while back on the cost of creating coins. And he's going to talk about the CAPE ratio. I'm going to follow up with some economic data from today and talk a little bit about what we have coming up next week from an economic data standpoint that might move the market. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on in just 1 second. Hey, folks. Welcome to the show. Ron, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning. Doing well. I know you just had another trip around the sun yesterday, so congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, when you were a kid and you were this close to Christmas, did you get double presents or they just said, nah, we're just going to combine it for you?
Yeah, that was more of it. I'd get like one present for my birthday that was just a Christmas present that they're like, we're going to give him this one. But yeah, I was the only kid, but I'd typically get maybe 2 to 3 presents for my birthday. And then all the rest of it came at Christmas time.
Gotcha. I actually had a friend of mine that was born on Christmas. He said it was a good and the worst day of the year.
Yeah.
Because all their siblings got double gifts in the year and they only got
and they're just like, here's your Christmas gifts and birthday gifts. Great. Thanks.
I got you. All right. You ready to get started?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and cover your part of it there with what happened in history?
Yeah. This week in history, actually, because I go day by day in this one website, and the first couple of days were a little light and then it picked up pretty good. 1690, the first paper currency is authorized in the colonies. And I thought this was interesting because the backstory to it, which we can't get in too much detail, it's like all the colonies had different currency, and then they had the British pound, and they had a very tough time trying to do the crosses being like foreign currency.
Yeah.
And they decided to do their own before Ben Franklin came in many years later and actually developed a lot of what is actually still on our dollar today to make it that unique. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
It's interesting. I would have never thought it was that early into the country because they were all just colonies of the British at that point. So it's interesting that they were issuing their own currency too.
Yeah. 1835, the Texan Army captures San Antonio.
Yep.
It's interesting. Texas is next, after Alaska, our largest state. And I just thought it was interesting that there was a Texan Army back then, even though Mexico kind of ruled a good chunk, especially the southern half of Texas at that time.
Actually, to be absolutely accurate, we were called the Texicans at that time. We were Texas Mexicans, so we were the Texicans.
I think I saw that on the menu in a restaurant down there.
Yeah, actually, we have a restaurant called the Texican here. So yeah, that's exactly it. But yeah, what I don't think what people realize is people think of the Alamo. Yeah, it was just like they captured the Alamo and then the battle happened. But yeah, they had captured it months ahead of time. And finally, Santa Anna decided to come in and wipe them out. It didn't quite work out so well for the Texans, but it also didn't work out so well for the Mexicans.
No, certainly not today.
No.
1869. I thought this was interesting. Wyoming grants women the right to vote. And here's the backstory to it. They wanted to attract more women to the state because at that time it was like a 6-to-1 ratio of men to women. And they thought if they
whatever we going to do,
vote, it would attract women to the state. I'm thinking to myself, wow, those must have been some boring Friday and Saturday nights, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. The guys all dancing together, apparently.
1913, the stolen Mona Lisa is recovered in Florence. So anyway, it's a little premature, but Dick Van Dyke was born this week, and he will turn 100 this Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
And he's still going pretty strong from the last
still
I saw.
Yeah, I saw him like, what, 2 years ago, they did that special, This Is Your Life, Dick Van Dyke, and, yeah, I mean, he's still he looks 100, but, I mean, he's still chugging along and still had the wicked sense of humor he's always had, so.
Well, he's also got a wife that's 40 years younger than him. I
Well,
think it
that's
helps
true,
too.
yeah, yeah.
1946, UNICEF founded. It's funny, I haven't heard the term, the name UNICEF in many years, but I remember when I was a kid, you had to bring in a nickel and put it into that orange milk carton. One
Yep.
time, put in my lunch money because I felt guilty because I didn't bring in a nickel, and the teacher got very upset because she had to open the damn thing up and give me for lunch. Oh, I was so embarrassed. I was like 6 years old or 7 years old, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's been forever since I've even thought of UNICEF.
And to talk about how much we are of capitalist pigs, in
Yes.
1969, Soviets declare nudity a sign of Western
Decadence. If you've seen some Russians, they're pretty hairy dudes. Yeah, I think that's a little.
So are the women.
Yeah, that's true. So,
I had to bring this one in. 1977, Saturday Night
Yes.
Fever premieres in New York. I got to tell you, it's held up over the decades, but here's the thing. If you took out the soundtrack, it's not a great movie.
Oh, it's a terrible movie, but the
But
soundtrack's
the
awesome.
music held up
Yeah.
after an 80s melee against them. The
Yep.
music still holds up today.
Yep, it does. It's great. It's a phenomenal soundtrack. It's kind of like my feeling about Grease too. The movie is, but the soundtrack is phenomenal.
I'll just tell you how amazing Barry Gibb, more than the other two brothers had definitely a part of it, but Barry Gibb was by far the core
He's a machine.
songwriter and musician there.
Yeah, and the fact that it drives my wife crazy if I ever play it. So it's amazing I do it just to annoy her at that
So
point.
when you talk to her, does she put on jive talking to piss you off?
No, she hates disco. I'm pretty
Oh,
good, and I like
It's
all
not
of
all
it.
disco.
I like all of it, man. It's the soundtrack of my childhood.
1978, millions stolen from
Oh, yeah?
infamous Lufthansa heist. And what
Man.
movie was everybody reminded that about?
Goodfellas, right?
Goodfellas, 1990. Yep. Henry Hill, absolutely. 1979, I was not aware of this. Smallpox is officially declared eradicated. That was big around the turn of the century. I didn't realize that it was still trickling out there into the 70s.
And now here's the good part. Who was responsible for reducing smallpox in the American colonies?
Probably somebody famous, and I don't remember who.
George Washington.
Oh, is that
He had his
right?
entire army inoculated in Valley Forge. Actually, had them inoculated so that they were not having that issue. So
Hey, that'll have to come up soon because I'm on episode 2 of the American Revolution on PBS. So.
yeah, that one. I know Ken Burns is a great director and all
Retired.
that, but god dang, he puts some of the most boring things out.
I will say, I was getting bored in certain parts. I love history, but I was getting bored in certain parts.
What? They had a run of Ken Burns things, and I'm like, I hadn't watched a lot of them. I've watched like the baseball one and the Civil War, and I started watching them, and I'm like, you know what? If it wasn't for PBS, this guy would not have a career because nobody would pay any money to actually watch this stuff.
I will say baseball and Ben Franklin were my two favorites.
Yes. Yeah, the Ben Franklin. I learned so much about Ben Franklin from that
People don't realize how amazing person he was. And he never held political office. That was the other thing.
Nope. Besides being part of the Continental Congress, that's about it. John Lennon. Wow.
December 8th. Yep. John Lennon was shot and killed, depriving us of who knows what.
Yeah.
1983. Scarface opens in theaters. What was the most famous line from that movie?
Say hello to my little friend.
That's right. And do you know who one of the screenwriters was of that movie?
I have no clue.
I'm gonna call it. Oh my God. Who did Platoon?
Oh God, I don't even know that. Oh, JFK, all those. Yeah, I've got him in my mind and I can't think of his
Oh
name.
my God. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Anyway, So he actually had a small screenwriting credit on there. And then Saddam Hussein was captured this week. So I thought that was pretty good.
Saddam.
I'm sorry, I got to look it up.
Yeah. Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone, my God.
Yeah.
I can't believe it blew my mind. Anyway,
I was
okay.
covering you, but I was Googling
Brutal.
it like crazy.
Brutal. And I'm a movie guy.
So you messed Madoff, though.
Because I used to do this in opening all my seminars and workshops and have a time with it.
Go back. Stop for a second. You got to go back. You missed Madoff in there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Madoff was arrested.
Blime.
One of the biggest cons of all time.
Yeah.
Okay. And that could have been stopped at least 10 years before, but that's another old thing. And it's funny because I think if it was stopped 10 years before, the fund actually grew, I think, 4 or 5x since that point where it could have been stopped. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these numbers went up. We knew that the penny cost almost 3 times the amount. The nickel was around 10 cents at one point. I don't know when it got to 13.78. And I always knew it was cheaper to make a dime and a quarter, but they're stopping to make the penny, but they're not taking them out of circulation.
No. Well, it's so funny. Like all these stores are like, oh, make sure you're paying by credit card because pennies are in short supply. I'm like, it's not like they're being taken out of circulation. They're just not making any more of them.
But you know what? You brought up something that reminded me of something. I didn't understand this. Remember during COVID, there was a shortage of pennies.
Yeah.
What the hell occurred that all of a sudden no pennies could be? People were hoarding pennies?
Yeah.
I still to this day, I don't know what happened there.
They had their piles of pennies, toilet paper, and bread. I don't know, whatever it was to keep alive.
I know. All right. Okay. My last slide here is on a good but a forgotten factor called the CAPE ratio, which is basically short for cyclically adjusted price earnings. So we know what price earnings is on a particular company or stock. It's looking at basically the valuation of its stock price to its earnings. The higher the number, obviously, the potentially more overvalued or more expensive. The lower the number, the more undervalued or the cheaper it looks to potentially buy. And I thought this was interesting leading into kind of where we are going to the end of the year, that we are like the highest since the dot-com era. And I know we've done some comparisons of the dot-com time to now, and obviously now we're dealing with more profitable companies. I'm not saying this is ominous, because it is a different this time. I know how we hate to say that. Wanted to get your thoughts on it, because this isn't like a 10 or 20-year chart. This goes back 150 years.
Yeah. I don't think anybody denies the fact that the market is highly valued. What concerns me with this is, once again, it's calculated by dividing the current price of the S&P 500 by the 10-year moving average of inflation adjusted earnings. Okay, almost 30% of the market is in about 7 to 10 stocks at this point. So yes, those stocks I think are wildly overvalued at this point, but the rest of it really isn't. And if you look at the performance of the rest of the market, if you scrap those 7 to 10 stocks, it was a year really across the board. So I think this calculation worked when the market had a lot more breadth to it. It's not, I don't think, working very well in today's world. And I think it's an interesting dichotomy that we're in right now, because yes, the stock market's gone up like crazy over time, but what's going to pull it down? Because a vast majority of the money is coming in passively and going into the S&P every week as a 401k contribution and everything else. So what's going to cause a mass shift downward at this point? So I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things where I'm like, I just don't know where the market reverses and goes back down, or what's going to cause it to do that, but it keeps going. And really everything else is not really getting love like it should be at this point. I think there's still a lot
even during the dot-com time.
Yeah.
More than half of this move was from the top 10 to 15 stocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think it always is that way. And I think there was a lot more, especially during the dot-com time, there was a lot more, I think, financial engineering going on of, oh, okay, anything that had a .com in its name or anything that was technology oriented. It's somewhat like today with the
Hey,
issues that we have with AI, anything that's related to AI or anybody that's adding AI. Oh my God, we're going to push the stock up. But I think Oracle had pretty crappy earnings today, and that's a big AI play. And I think we're starting to see some of that, but I think there's a lot of other stocks with some love. And that I'm going to share some of my thoughts on this as we roll into next week, talking about some areas that I think are going to be interesting for next year. You got to stay tuned for those. All right, let me share a little bit of my screen here and a couple of economic things that I wanted to share for this week. All right. Can you see that, Ron?
now I can.
Yeah. Okay. Not a whole lot of economic data out this week. We're rolling into the end of the year. The government's still trying to get data coming in. Of course, we didn't even talk about the fact that interest rates were dropped by a quarter point yesterday. Of course, the Fed chairman, Mr. Data Dependent, except when he wants to go by gut feel. But he said that we're going to have to look at data for next year and maybe just one interest rate drop.
They're always
Whatever.
the
Yeah, he's data dependent until he's not, that's the thing that annoys me is we're data dependent, but we think that because of tariffs, okay, follow the data. Stop following the frickin' your gut feel because your gut feel sucks, which it has for quite a while. Data coming out today, jobless claims, that kind of affected the market right out of the gate. Consensus had been that it was going to be about 219,000. The range was 205 to 232. We came in at 236. I started looking at what might have caused that or what may have caused a bigger pop there and started to just do a quick search. A little quick Gemini search came up with, and I heard these and it just didn't really resonate with me. But late October, November, companies like Amazon, UPS, Verizon, Amazon cut around 14,000 corporate roles as it focuses on AI. That it's an interesting thing with them. It was not the worker bee, the people that work in the like distribution facilities and stuff like that. This was straight up middle management folks that got wiped out because of AI. And I think it should be a concern for people in that area. You better be making yourself useful when it comes to AI because they're looking for ways to eliminate those. UPS eliminated 14,000 management jobs plus 34,000 operational roles for efficiency. Verizon, 15,000 cuts, which is the largest in their history. HP announced 6,000 cuts by 2028. This could easily be explained by Amazon and UPS because that was right now. And I think there's just a little bit across a lot of companies of continuing to build a little bit of efficiency in. What's your
other
thoughts,
than
Ron?
Verizon. The rest of it is minuscule in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, like I said, Amazon and UPS are really the biggest. All these other ones that are like Grubhub shed 500 jobs. Okay. Which is 20% of their workforce after being acquired. Okay. Well, that
I
really
guess it's
didn't.
got to be W-2 employees, not
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Not
All
the
right.
drivers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And they still need those folks. But I think you get acquired, they're going to look at the fat that's in the company or the roles that are common or whatever. One thing that I found intriguing and interesting is, of course, we're talking about the tariffs and their effects on trying to kind of rebalance what's going on in trade, because we've really seen a lot of it go in the wrong direction for us as a country. And this was something that came out on the Econo calendar that I've not heard anybody talk about in the media or anything like that. But international trade goods and services prior negative 59 billion, or it's probably, yeah, it's 59 billion. Consensus for this time was negative 64 with a negative 85 to negative 57. And we actually came in at negative 52.8. Now that's still a lot. It's a long way to go to get us to where we're a little bit more balanced in trade, but the trend is moving in the right direction, which is good. And it started good at the beginning of the year and got really good. And then we had that summer weirdness going on in September, and it's been moving in the right direction, which I think is Yeah, I think it's a positive move, at least on our part as a country, that we're trying to balance out trade a little bit and get some of our goods sold overseas. And last but not least, just what's coming up next week. We're going into the holiday season. We're 1 week out from Christmas next week. Not a whole lot going on except for two, what I would consider big numbers and one interesting number. One, the interesting thing is Empire State Manufacturing. I always pay attention to these manufacturing reports because they really tell us where we're going to be in a few months down the road. We also have we have US employment and US unemployment, which actually comes out every week. Hourly wages year over year, and retail sales, which, if I remember correctly, this will be retail sales for October and not November yet. So we don't really know kind of what Black Friday and beyond is. And then the other one, the biggie next week, is consumer price index. So we're going to start to get another look at inflation, and this will be the third read on it prior to the finalized number that we'll get after the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
Any thoughts?
actually, they were announcing, was it yesterday, earlier this week, that some of the economic numbers from October won't be released until next month.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just catching up. God, it was such a long shutdown that it takes them a
I
while.
just don't understand in this day and age with computers why it takes so long to accumulate these numbers.
Because they are so massively inefficient.
I don't get it. I know we talked about this before, but you got to be kidding me. I know that, and not only that too, but a lot of the information they get is verbal. They're calling up states and local municipalities. They're giving them a number, and there's no way to back that up if it's even real or not. I just don't understand it in today's day and age. I know I sound like an old codger, but you got to be.
But it was the same thing. I didn't even realize how they do some of these surveys and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I had an SBA loan at one time, if you had an SBA loan, you're automatically on that list of companies that they they would send a questionnaire to me once a quarter. And I always answered them. And then it got to the point where I'm like, why am I answering? Because they don't explain what it is. They just send it out and go, hey, we want to know what's going on. Okay, great. Is this because you just want to know? Or is there some reason for it? If they'd explained, hey, we use this data for reporting stuff, but they did such a bad job of selling why I should do this. What's the benefit to me as an investor or a business community member? What is this thing? Why are you giving me this? Oh, okay. If you tell me, yeah, this is how we gather economic data to use, and it may be in there, but it was amongst the 5,000 tons of legal gobbledygook that they put in front of it.
And not only that, but all states and many municipalities, they all do their numbers differently. It's basically like a federal election in the states. They all have their own rules.
Everybody's got their own way of doing it and how they report it and when they report it.
And it's political.
Yeah, and it's political, but I think a lot of some of them, we don't gather the data until the end of the quarter. That's probably why you get all these weird readjustments and everything else, because nobody's doing it consistent. And if the government would just come in and say, you know what, guys, we need this info. Can you follow these very simple guidelines, please? It's all we need from you. And in this day of computers, this should have been fixed back in the early 1990s.
If they want to create efficiency, why not start with economic numbers?
Yes, absolutely.
Just think about it. If they created the efficiency, how many people could we eliminate and repurpose them for something else?
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
But that's the biggest problem. They don't want to be repurposed for something else. They want to just continue to do it the same way.
Job security. We don't have
no
economic. You have to call it. Ask me for it.
Yes, I am secured in my world where I cannot be changed. And I think it's interesting because you got a bunch of heads of different agencies and stuff like that are efficiency people. So hopefully over the next 3.5 years, we'll see a little bit more efficiency in that world, and maybe updating the computers from like the early 2000s to current computers and supercomputers.
Hey, we got the chips, right?
There we go. We got them. Got to spend the money.
Next week, we got the big market outlook and some details. So a little bit of foreshadowing.
So stay tuned. You got to be here for next week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you give us an upvote and let us know that we're doing a good job. And we will see you guys back here the very next time.